Hey guys, tonight we're doing something truly thrilling thrilling in the most boring way possible. You're about to take the slowest, most uneventful stroll through the vast, echoing lands of shadow of the Colossus. No bosses, no epic battles, no oh wow moments, just you, your horse somewhere in the distance, in a sky that looks like it could swallow every thought you've ever had. Sounds relaxing, right? Or maybe terrifying, depending on how you feel about endless silence. Picture this. You're standing in the middle of an ancient ruin, a place that once might have been full of prayers and promises, but now it's just moss and cracked stone. You can feel the weight of centuries pressing down, but honestly, you're too busy deciding if you should walk to the left or right first. Spoiler, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen either way. But hey, that's the beauty of. Tonight, we're here to wander, to breathe, and to let the world move in slow motion around us. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love seeing the little map of night owls from around the world. It makes me feel slightly less like I'm whispering into the void now. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step out of the temple ruins, the ones with pillars worn smooth by 1,000 years of wind. Your fingers brush against the stone, feeling the cool texture beneath your skin. There's something grounding about it. For a second, you imagine the hands that carved these shapes. The stories whispered in these walls, but then, your mind drifts back to the present. It's just you, in an expanse of green that looks like it could swallow you whole if it wanted to. Your boots crunch softly against the dirt path. Sound is barely there, almost shy. You take a breath and notice how the air smells faintly of stone dust and something wild, maybe the memory of rain from last night. Or maybe your brain just wants to romanticize everything because nothing's actually happening. Honestly, that's fine. That's why you're here. A shaft of sunlight slices through a crack in the temple roof, hitting the ground like a spotlight. You stand in it for a moment, letting the warmth soak into your skin. That's not dramatic. That's nice. The kind of nice you forget to appreciate because the world usually moves too fast for this. You can hear a distant bird cry, sharp but lonely, like it's echoing across a canyon far from here. Your steps take you past a fallen column. Its base fractured, vines curling up like they're trying to hug the ruins back to life. You reach out and trace one of the vines with a fingertip. It feels alive, stubborn in its quiet way, clinging to something that gave up centuries ago. You wonder if that's a metaphor for you? Then you laugh softly at yourself because, wow, you're really out here philosophizing over a plant. That's what happens when the loudest thing around you is the wind. You pause near a stone bencher, at least what's left of one. The seat is cracked in two, one half tilted at a weird angle like it got tired of being a bench halfway through the job. You sit anyway, because why not? The stone is cold, grounding. You close your eyes for a moment. Da-da-da-da-da-da. In the silence, you notice something. The sound of your own breathing feels louder than the world around you. It's rhythmic, steady, like waves brushing a quiet shore. You let that sound carry you for a minute or two. When you open your eyes, a beam of light has shifted. Shadows stretch longer now, curling like lazy cats across the floor. Time moves. Strangely here, slower than you remember from the real world. You take that as your cue to stand and keep moving, slow and steady. There's no rush. Tonight is about unlearning the art of rushing. As you step outside the temple gate, the light hits you fully for the first time. It's bright but soft, filtered. Through high, drifting clouds, the sky feels infinite. A blue so pale it almost looks like watercolor bleeding at the edges. You tilt your head back and just stare for a moment, letting your eyes blur a little until everything becomes shapes and shadows. The clouds drift lazily, and you can't help but wonder if they know how good they have it. No deadlines. It's no expectations, just endless sky to wander through. The grass ripples ahead like a slow ocean, each blade bending in surrender to the breeze. You watch it for a while before stepping forward, each foot sinking slightly into the earth. There's a rhythm to it. step, sink, release. Over and over, like the heartbeat of the land itself. And as you move farther from the ruins, their silence clings to you like a soft cloak, wrapping you in its strange comfort. You don't look back. There's nothing behind you that isn't ahead of you too. More space, more quiet, more time than you'll ever need. And for now, that's enough. Just you, your breath, and the slow stretch of a world that has forgotten what hurry feels like. The grass crunches softly under your boots as you step farther away from the ruins, leaving the temple shrinking behind you like a half-forgotten dream. Ahead, an endless sweep of green stretches out, broken only by distant boulders and an occasional tree that looks more like an afterthought than a landmark. There's nothing out here but space and, for some reason, that feels like the point. You're not walking to get anywhere. You're walking because the world is too quiet to ignore. You glance down at your shadow. It drifts lazily along the grass, distorted by the uneven ground, like it's doing its best impression of you, but can't quite be bothered to get the details right. The wind stirs again, brushing your face with a coolness that smells faintly of damp earth and sun-warmed plants. It's not a dramatic breeze, not the kind that makes you brace yourself. It's more like someone gently sighing across the land. Too tired to do anything more, you lift your eyes toward the horizon, and for the first time you realize just how far the fields go. Miles, maybe. No paths carved, no sign of anyone having crossed this place in years. You half expect to see a tumbleweed, but no, this isn't the kind of world where tumbleweeds exist. This is a world that refuses cliches, even lazy ones. There's a moment where you wonder if you should call for your horse because you know this game technically has one. But then you think about the sound of its hooves pounding the earth, the way it would break the hush that's draped itself over everything, and you decide against it. Not tonight. Tonight is about quiet, about slowness, about the kind of stillness that feels like it's soaking into your bones. Your feet find a rhythm, not quick but steady, a low drum beat echoing in your own head. You start to notice the details. Now, the grass isn't just green, it's 1,000 shades of it, from pale, almost yellow blades near the edges of rocks too deep, dark emerald in dips where the earth clings to moisture. Little white flowers nod lazily in the wind, their petals trembling like they're caught between sleep and waking. The further you go, the less the temple feels real. It's a shadow now, tucked behind the slight rise of the earth. Ahead, the land tilts gently downward, opening into a shallow valley. It's not dramatic, but when you step over the edge and start down, the change in air feels sudden, cooler, heavier, like the ground is holding secrets in its breath. You let your arms hang loose at your sides as you walk, fingers brushing the tops of tall grass. The sensation is light, ticklish. It makes you smile without realizing why, and then you stop, not because you saw something, but because you didn't. There's a stillness here, even more complete than before. No birdsong, no rustle of animals in the brush. It's just wind and the faint swish of grass, blades touching each other like whispers. You close your eyes for a second and tilt your head, listening. The world narrows to sound and breath. And when you open your eyes, everything seems sharper, the way the sunlight glitters faintly on distant stone, the way the clouds drift like ships on a calm ocean above you. You take a deep breath and keep moving, slower this time. The valley floor spreads before you, smooth as a carpet rolled out for a king who never came. You follow its gentle curve, your eyes tracing the long shadows cast by solitary rocks. One of them catches your attention not because it's big or strange, but because it looks like it's leaning slightly, like it got tired of standing upright after centuries of holding its pose. You walk past it, and for a second, you imagine it groaning softly in relief as your presence breaks the monotony. Halfway through the valley, you spot a small cluster of stones. Maybe they were part of something once a wall, a marker, but now they're just lumps in the grass, half buried and softened by time. You crouch down and touch one. It's warm from the sun, but underneath you feel a coolness that seems older than anything you know. You press your palm flat against it for a moment, like you're trying to exchange something, a bit of your heartbeat for a bit of its memory. You stand again, dusting your hands off slowly, and notice something above you. The clouds are gathering into shapes now, Big, slow-moving giants, their edges glowing faintly where the light slips through. You keep walking, but your eyes are on the sky more than the ground. There's a hypnotic pull in watching those clouds drift, like time is unraveling in threads. You can almost touch. They remind you of something: faces, mountains, maybe even beasts, but the moment you try to define them, they shift and become something else entirely. That's the game they play. It's always changing, never staying still long enough to be understood. A gust of wind sweeps through suddenly, stronger than before, rippling the grass in waves that shimmer like liquid gold. You stop and watch it flow around you, your hair tugging lightly against your face. The sound it makes is soft, like 100 paper pages turning at once, and for a fleeting second, you feel like you're inside a story too big to read all at once. By the time the wind dies, you've already forgotten why you were walking in the first place. Doesn't matter. There's no goal, no ticking clock, no voice telling you to hurry. There's just this, the hush of the fields, the weight of the sky, and the steady beat of your own steps, carrying you farther into a world that asks nothing of you but to keep going slowly, gently, like a thought you don't want to end. You keep moving forward, though moving feels like too strong a word for what you're doing. It's more like drifting, a leaf on a stream that isn't even sure if it's headed anywhere. Grass thickens underfoot as you follow a gentle slope, and with each step, the sound of the wind becomes more pronounced, threading itself into your ears until it feels like the only music this land remembers. There's something mesmerizing about the way the breeze plays with the world around you. It tugs gently at your clothes, curls your hair in lazy spirals, and makes the grass lean into each other as if they're sharing secrets you'll never hear. The sound rises and falls like breathing soft inhalations, slow exhalations. It doesn't rush, doesn't falter, it just is. And you find yourself syncing with it, unconsciously matching your own pace to its rhythm. Like you're walking to the tempo of a song too subtle to hum. You glance to your right and see a scatter of stones, small and sharp-edged, like the remnants of a wall that lost its will to stand centuries ago. They're half swallowed by moss now, their purpose forgotten. You imagine they once held something important, maybe a line that divided two kingdoms, or maybe they were nothing more than a shepherd's marker for his flock. Either way, they don't tell their story anymore, and you're not going to ask. Tonight isn't about answers, it's about floating inside the question. You take a deeper breath, letting the coolness settle in your lungs, and keep walking. The landscape shifts so subtly that you almost miss it. The grass grows shorter, sparser, and the ground hardens under your boots. A few scattered shrubs break the monotony, their branches thin and brittle, shivering in the wind like they're caught in a dream they can't wake from. You reach out and let your fingers brush against one as you pass. It feels dry, almost fragile, and for a moment, you imagine it snapping under the weight of the smallest storm. But somehow it hasn't. Somehow it's still here. The wind picks up again, whistling softly through the hollow stems of nearby plants. It's a lonely sound, thin and sharp, like a flute played by invisible hands. You pause, listening. There's no other noise, no birds, no insects, no distant roar of a Colossus that might have been, if this were the kind of story that cared about drama. Just the wind, stretching its fingers through the emptiness and making it sing. You tilt your head back to the sky again, and that's when you notice how fast, or maybe how slow, the clouds are moving. They slide across the pale blue like massive ships adrift, their shadows gliding silently over the earth below. For a moment, one of them drapes over you, dimming the light so suddenly it feels like dusk snuck in early. The world softens in that shadow, colors muted, sounds dampened, and you can almost believe you've stepped out of time entirely. You start walking again, slower this time, just to make the feeling last. The path, or what passes for one, curves toward a rise ahead, a gentle hump of earth, dotted with low rocks. You climb without hurry, each step pressing softly into the soil. From the top, you pause and look back. The temple is gone now, completely swallowed by distance, and in its place, an ocean of grass rippling under an ocean of sky. The scale of it hits you not like a punch, but like a slow tide creeping up your ankles. You are small here. Not in the scary way, though, in the way that feels like a relief. You stand there for a while, breathing in the view, letting the wind thread through your hair. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel it combing your thoughts, untangling knots you didn't know were there. When you open them again, the horizon looks softer somehow, as if the edges have blurred. Maybe it's the light, or maybe it's your brain finally unclenching after days. Weeks, years of holding on too tight. Down the slope, you notice something faint, a shimmer, like sunlight caught on glass. You squint, and there it is, water. Maybe a thin ribbon of silver winding through the fields in the distance. You don't rush toward it. You just file it away, a promise for later, and let your feet choose their own pace. Because what's the hurry? There's nothing waiting at the end of this walk except more sky, more grass, and maybe, if you're lucky, silence so deep it starts to sound like music. The wind shifts again, coming from behind now, nudging you forward like a patient friend. You laugh softly under your breath because it almost feels like the land is saying, "Go on, see what's next." So you do. You let your steps fall into the rhythm of the air, your body swaying slightly as if you're moving through water instead of wind. It feels effortless, like gravity forgot to care for a few minutes. And as you move down toward the shimmer slowly, lazily, without any sense of urgency, you realize something. You haven't thought about time in a while, not the real kind. Not the sharp, ticking kind that slices days into pieces. Here, time stretches like warm honey, slow and sweet, sticking to your skin in a way that makes you wish you could stay lost in it forever. The slope flattens out as you descend, and the shimmer you noticed earlier begins to take shape as a single tree, standing alone like a quiet sentinel in the middle of the field. Its branches sprawl upward in a jagged silhouette against the pale sky, not lush, not full, but stubbornly alive. You angle your steps toward it without even thinking. Maybe because it looks like a destination. Maybe because the world out here feels too open. And that little patch of shade is the closest thing to shelter you've seen since leaving the ruins. The ground is firmer now, the grass shorter and tinged with yellow at the tips, as though the sun has been kissing it too long. Your boots make a soft, scuffing sound, barely enough to compete with the breeze whispering through the field. Each gust carries the faint rustle of blades rubbing against each other, like tiny conversations you're not invited to join. And honestly, that's fine. You're not here to interrupt. You're here to listen. When you finally reach the tree, you circle it slowly, dragging your fingers along the rough bark. It's thick and cracked, the kind of bark that looks like it's been holding secrets for centuries. You wonder how long it's been here, rooted in this endless field with nothing but wind for company. Long enough to see things you'll never know. Long enough to outlast everything that tried to matter here. The tree's shadow stretches out like a dark spill on the grass, thin and crooked. You step into it and the temperature drops just enough to make you sigh. It's not dramatic relief. It's not like you were overheating, but there's something about that small shift that feels luxurious, like stepping into a cool stream on a warm day. You ease yourself down against the trunk, leaning your back into its solid weight to let your legs stretch out in front of you. For the first time since you left the temple, you stop moving entirely. And in that stillness, the world grows louder in its quiet way. The wind hums low through the branches, making them creak softly like old bones. A blade of grass tickles your wrist. You notice the faint vibration of the earth under you, not from anything big, just life doing its slow, invisible work beneath the surface. You take a deep breath and let it out even slower, allowing the tension in your shoulders slide away like dust in the wind. You tilt your head back against the bark and let your eyes wander up through the branches. They twist and curl, framing pieces of the sky like broken windows. The clouds are different now, thicker, lazier, drifting so slowly it's like they're conserving energy for some event that will never come. You watch them for a while, picking out shapes, because that's what the human brain does when it's given too much quiet. That one looks like a sleeping giant. That one, maybe a bird mid-flight. Or maybe they're just clouds. You're just tired enough to see stories and water vapor. Your eyelids grow heavy for a moment, Not because you're sleepy in the usual sense, but because the air here is heavy with calm, pressing gently against. You like a warm blanket. Imagine lying down fully, right here under the tree, letting the grass cradle your back. For a second you almost do, but instead, you shift and glance at the horizon again. The silver shimmer you thought was water, earlier is still out there, further off than it looked from the rise. You smile a little. That's a problem for later. For now, this patch of shade, this hum of wind, this old, stubborn tree's enough. You close your eyes anyway, just for a moment, and listen. Really listen. There's a pattern to the wind that you didn't notice before. A slow rise and fall, almost like breathing. You count along with it 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the exhale. Your heartbeat syncs with it without asking for permission. Suddenly, everything in you slows down to match the rhythm of this place. This tree, this field that has no reason to rush for anything or anyone. When you finally open your eyes again, the light has shifted. The sun's angle is lower now, throwing long shadows across the grass. The tree's silhouette stretches like a dark arm reaching toward the distant mountains. I push yourself up slowly, brushing bits of bark from your clothes, and take one. Last look at the spot where you sat, as if you're leaving a friend behind. Maybe you are. Maybe every place you linger in long enough becomes a kind of friend, whether you meant for it to or not. You step back into the sunlight, squinting a little as the warmth wraps around you again. The shimmer on the horizon pulls your attention. Once more it feels like it's waiting, not impatiently, just there, a quiet invitation. You roll your shoulders, take a deep breath, and start walking again, the grass parting around your legs like water. The tree stands behind you now, small against the ocean of green, and for some reason, you don't feel lonely. If anything, you feel lighter. It's like you left something behind that you didn't need anymore. Ahead, the sky yawns wide and endless. The wind brushes past your ears, murmuring its secrets. And you keep moving, not because you're chasing something, but because the world is still whispering, go on, go on. You drift farther from the tree until it becomes just another smudge in the green expanse behind you. The shimmer you've been chasing, that thin suggestion of silver, still lingers far ahead, almost taunting in its distance. 8, but you're not. In a hurry, point isn't to get there, it's to keep moving, slow and deliberate. Like a thought you refuse to finish because finishing means waking up. The sky has shifted again, clouds stretching wider, their edges soft as if the horizon decided to blur. One cloud in particular catches your eye, big, rolling, luminous on one side where the sun touches it, darker on the other, like a bruise spreading across the sky. It moves so slowly you can't tell if it's moving at all. You squint, watch, for a few breaths, and still can't decide. Honestly, you love that. In a world obsessed with motion, it feels like a small rebellion to stare at something that refuses to perform. You stop walking for a moment, tilting your head back, and let your gaze go soft. The clouds aren't just clouds anymore, they're landscapes of their own, mountains of vapor, stretching farther than your imagination wants to go. You wonder what it would feel like to lie on one, sink into its softness, float where time doesn't exist. Your mind wanders so far into that daydream that you forget the ground under your feet until the wind stirs, again, and brings you back, gently, like a hand brushing your shoulder. With a small laugh under your breath, you start walking again. The ground here slopes gently upward, the grass dotted with little tufts of wildflowers, white-purple. A single stubborn yellow bloom standing like a tiny sun among its quieter cousins. You crouch down without thinking, fingers brushing the petals of that yellow flower. They're softer than you expect, fragile in a way that makes you wonder how they survive out here in all this emptiness. You leave it untouched, because plucking it feels like shouting in a library. You rise and keep going, your boots whispering against the grass, and notice how the wind has changed again. It's cooler now, carrying a scent that's sharper, cleaner water. Maybe you take that as a sign the shimmer you saw isn't just a trick of light. There's a stream out there somewhere. It's winding its way through this quiet land like a vein of silver threading through green. The idea of water makes your steps lighter, even if you're in no rush. You imagine the sound of it soft and endless, like words in a language you don't need to understand. And as you picture that sound, the world around you feels even quieter, as though it's holding its breath just to make sure you hear when the moment comes. But before you reach that promise, you pause again. Not because something stops you, but because the sky demands your attention one more time. The clouds have shifted into a new dance, layers upon layers folding into each other, glowing faintly where the sun slips through. They're moving faster now, you think, but still at a pace that makes you feel like an impatient creature in comparison. You take another deep breath, tasting that strange sweetness of open air. And then you do something you didn't plan. You lie down, right there in the grass. You stretch out on your back, hands folded loosely on your stomach, and let the earth hold you. The blades tickle the back of your neck. The smell of soil rises up, rich and grounding. You close your eyes for a second, just to feel it, the warmth of the sun on your face, the whisper of wind curling around your ears like a secret. And when you open them again, the clouds are waiting. Framed by the edges of your vision like living paintings, you watch them move slow, steady, like the seconds of a clock that forgot what urgency feels like. One cloud looks like a giant hand reaching across the sky, fingers spread wide. Another looks like a creature curled in sleep, its shape dissolving into nothing before you can finish naming it. You keep finding new shapes, and they keep slipping away until you realize that's the point. Nothing here stays. Nothing here needs to. The longer you watch, the heavier your eyelids feel. The world hums low around you, the wind, the grass, maybe even the earth itself. It's like a lullaby with no words, no melody, just the rhythm of everything breathing in sync. For a fleeting second, you let yourself wonder what would happen if you fell asleep right here, under this sky, the clouds drifting above like slow ships on an endless ocean. Would the world care? Would you? Eventually, you sit up, brushing stray blades of grass from your arms, and take one last look at the patch where you lay. It feels almost sacred now, a little piece of stillness carved out of time. You smile softly to yourself and rise, stretching your arms above your head until your spine cracks in a way that feels like the land itself sighing through you. When you start walking again, the silver glint ahead seems closer. You can almost hear it now, a thin, high murmur like water teasing stone. The sound drifts on the wind, faint and fragile, but enough to guide you forward. And as you follow it, you realize something. You're not chasing the stream. You're not chasing that feeling you had lying in the grass, the weightlessness, the slow unraveling of thought, the sense that, for once, doing nothing isn't just okay. It's perfect, so you keep going. Step by step, breath by breath, into the shimmer, into the silence, into the kind of peace that doesn't need a name. The faint murmur grows clearer now, threading through the stillness like a silver thread in a dark tapestry. Each step draws you closer, and with every rise of wind, you catch another whisper of it, the sound of water slipping over stone, patient and unbothered by the ages. You wonder how long it's been running out here, unseen and unheard, carving its quiet path across a land that forgot about urgency centuries ago. You crest a small ridge, and there it is, a narrow stream winding lazily through the grass, sunlight dancing on its surface like shards of broken glass. It's smaller than you imagined, but somehow more beautiful for it, thin and unassuming, like it's trying not to draw attention, content to exist for its own sake. The water gleams in shades of silver and pale gold, bending softly where it brushes against smooth stones. For a moment, you just stand there, watching it slip between shadows, as if you've stumbled upon something sacred. You take a few steps closer, your boots sinking slightly into the damp earth at the edge. The air here feels different, cooler, sharper, carrying the scent of moss and minerals. You crouch and trail your fingers through the current. It's cold, but not in a biting way, more like a gentle reminder that this world isn't just empty space and endless grass. It moves, it breathes, it lives. You cup your hands and lift a little water, letting it trickle back down in thin streams that glint in the light before vanishing into the flow. The sound it makes a soft patter against the stones is so delicate you almost hold your breath to hear it better. It's the kind of sound that belongs in the background of dreams, woven so deeply into the fabric of stillness that you stop noticing it until it disappears. You sit back on your heels, let your gaze wander along the stream's path. It curves, out of sight behind a gentle slope, disappearing into a dip in the land where shadows gather. You think about following it, but not yet. For now, you stay where you are, letting the coolness seep through your boots and into your bones. A dragonfly skims the surface, its wings flashing blue in the sun before vanishing into the air like a thought you didn't have time to finish. The ripples it leaves behind spread slowly, lazily, before melting back into glass. The breeze returns, curling around your shoulders with a tenderness that feels almost human. It stirs the grass, sets the water trembling, and brings with it a single fallen leaf from somewhere far off. The leaf lands near your hand, spinning gently in the current before drifting away, like it knows exactly where it's going. You watch it vanish around the bend and wonder if maybe it does. After a while, you ease down onto the grass beside the stream. Lying on your side with one arm propped under your head, the blades are cool and damp against your skin, and the earth gives just enough to cradle you without complaint. From here, the sky stretches wider than ever, framed by the arching tips of grass that blur in and out of focus when you blink. The clouds move slow as breath, their edges glowing like faded silver coins. You let your eyes trace their shapes without naming them this time, because naming feels like rushing. And rushing has no place here. The stream hums softly beside you, a sound so steady it feels like the heartbeat of the land itself. You close your eyes and let it sink into you, matching your pulse until it's hard to tell where your body ends and the earth begins. For a few moments, minutes, hours, you can't tell you exist only as weight and warmth and the echo of water in your ears. When you finally open your eyes again, the light has shifted. The sun leans lower now, painting the grass in strokes of amber and gold. Shadows stretch long and thin, pointing like fingers toward the distant horizon. You sit up slowly, brushing stray blades from your clothes, and glance once more at the stream. It keeps moving, indifferent to your pause, carrying on in its eternal loop of motion that somehow feels slower than stillness. You stand and follow it without thinking, your steps aligning with its rhythm. The ground softens as you go, damp earth giving way to patches of moss that spring gently underfoot. The stream bends and twists like a ribbon tossed by an unseen hand, leading you deeper into a hollow where the light falls in broken pieces through leaning rocks. Here, the water sounds louder, not rushing, but whispering with more confidence. Like it knows this place is its own private sanctuary. You stop at a flat stone near the edge, where the moss spreads like a green cushion, and sit. The air is cooler here, touched by shadows and the faint scent of wet stone. You watch the water for a long time, tracing the tiny whirlpools that form around half-submerged pebbles, sunlight flashing in quick fleeting patterns across the ripples. It feels like staring into a language you'll never learn but one. You're content to listen to anyway. Eventually, you lean back on your hands and let your gaze wander upward. The sky has begun to soften into late afternoon hues, pale blue deepening to something warmer, something tender. You know what's coming next, the long stretch of evening, the slow unfurling of stars, but for now, you let the world linger in this golden pause. It's a moment balanced on the edge of change, quiet and infinite all at once. And as you sit there, the thought drifts across your mind, light as a leaf on water. If this was all there was, just streams and wind and a sky too, big four words, you'd be fine, more than fine. You'd be home. You rise slowly from the mossy stone, the sound of water trailing behind you like a memory. The stream continues its gentle song, curling into the hollow where shadows deepen and light scatters into fractured beams. For a moment, you glance back at it. How it shimmers even in partial shade, like something alive, something quietly certain of its place in this vast, patient world. Then you turn and begin walking again, letting your feet find the rhythm they had before, steady, unhurried. Like a heartbeat at rest, the air shifts as you leave the hollow. The breeze carries a cooler edge now. It's threaded with the faint sweetness of damp grass, and something else, stone warmed by the sun, maybe, or the smell of distance itself. Ahead, the land rises in a slow incline, a slope so gentle it feels less like climbing and more like leaning into the sky. You follow it, each step pressing softly into the ground, your boots whispering against tufts of grass that bow in resignation to your passing. As you crest the rise, the horizon unfurls in front of you, a wide, endless stretch of gold and green, rippling like fabric under the hands of the wind. The sky looms vast and pale, clouds stretch thin as if someone pulled them across the blue until they frayed at the edges. You pause there for a moment, drinking it all in. There's no rush, there never was. And then you notice something. The mountains. They were there before, faint and far away. But now they've stepped closer, their silhouettes rising and soft. Gray humps against the sky. They're not sharp, not jagged, just long and patient, worn smooth by time and silence. They don't demand your attention. They simply exist, waiting with the same quiet certainty as the stream behind you. You know you'll reach them eventually, but not yet. For now, the path between here and there is enough. You start down the other side of the slope, and as you do, the wind changes again. It brushes past your ears like a whisper you can't quite catch. Rattles softly through the taller grasses that clustered near scattered stones. The sound is soothing, almost hypnotic, like the low murmur of waves against a distant shore. You breathe it in, letting your chest rise and fall in time with that rhythm. And feel something in you loosen, not you didn't know you'd been carrying. Slowly unraveling thread by thread. The ground levels out into another expanse of grass, but this one feels different, lighter, brighter, touched by the glow of a sun beginning its slow descent. Shadows lengthen across the field, stretching like fingers toward the horizon, and the light softens into gold that clings to the edges of every blade, every stone. You walk through it like someone drifting through honey, the world thick with warmth and color. After a while, you find yourself near another scattering of rocks larger. This time, their surface is rough and flecked with patches of moss. They look like bones of some long-forgotten giant, half buried in the earth, worn smooth by wind and time. You reach out and run your fingers along one, feeling the grooves carved by centuries of rain. It's cool to the touch, solid and steady, and for a fleeting second, you envy its permanence. You press your palm flat against it, grounding yourself in its stillness before moving on. Your steps carry you toward a dip in the land where the grass grows thicker, softer, swaying in long ripples under the wind's invisible hand. You walk into it slowly, the blades brushing against your legs like whispers of old secrets. It feels like wading into an ocean without water, the horizon dissolving as the grass rises around you in waves of green and gold. You stop for a moment, close your eyes and just listen, the hiss and sigh of the wind, the rustle of grass, the low hum of a world that doesn't need you but welcomes you anyway. When you open your eyes again, the clouds have shifted into something new, long streaks, stretching from one edge of the sky to the other, glowing faintly in the sun's amber light. You tilt your head back, watching them drift, slow and deliberate, like ships crossing an endless sea. For a moment, you imagine yourself aboard one, weightless and untethered, floating above the quiet earth. The thought lingers like the aftertaste of a dream, sweet and impossible. You keep walking deeper into the field, until you find a spot where the grass dips gently, forming a shallow hollow that feels like a nest. Without thinking, you lower yourself into it, lying on your back with your arms folded loosely across your chest. The blades cradle you like soft fingers, cool and pliant, and the earth beneath you hums faintly with its secret life. Sky yawns wide, clouds glowing in hues of cream and gold, the first hints of evening curling at their edges. You stay there for a long time more, maybe just a little while. Time feels slippery here, melting like ice on warm skin. We watch the light fade in slow, syrupy increments, the blue deepening, the gold bleeding into orange, then into something softer, something almost violet. The wind strokes your hair, brushes your cheek, and you close your eyes just to feel it better. The whisper of air weaving itself into your breath until you can't tell which is which. When you finally sit up, the world feels different, not louder, not busier, just deeper, as if every color, every shadow has learned a new secret while you weren't looking. The mountains are closer now, their slopes bathed in dusky light, and you know you'll walk toward them soon, but not yet. For now, you let the evening settle around you like a slow exhale, and you stand once more, ready to follow the wind wherever it decides to take you next. Because here, there's no map, no markers, no end waiting like a promise. There's just the long, quiet road of the horizon and the soft, patient rhythm of your own steps carrying you forward, deeper into a world that hums with silence and breathes with clouds. The wind feels cooler now as you rise from the hollow, brushing your cheeks with a softness that whispers of evening. The grass around you sways in languid waves, each blade bending as if bowing to something you can't see. You start walking again, your boots pressing gentle patterns into the earth. And the land ahead stretches toward the mountains that no longer seem so far away. Their shapes loom like patient giants, softened by distance and painted in muted tones of gray and blue. They wait without urgency, like everything else in this quiet world, the pather rather. The vague suggestion of one slopes gently upward, leading you into a landscape that feels subtly different. The grass grows shorter here, sparser, as if the soil has given up its green generosity. Patches of bare earth peek through, dry and cracked like old parchment. A scatter of rocks interrupts the monotony, their jagged forms casting long, thin shadows in the amber light. You pause at one of them, crouch down, and trace the lichen, clinging stubbornly to its surface. It's soft and cool under your fingertips, a tiny universe thriving in silence. You wonder how many storms it has endured, how many seasons have passed without anyone noticing its quiet persistence. You straighten slowly, stretching your spine until you hear a soft pop that makes you smile. There's something deeply satisfying about that sound, in this emptiness, a small reminder that you're still a body, still a weight moving through a world that doesn't care and doesn't need to. You roll your shoulders once, twice, and start walking again, the motion so easy it feels like muscle memory from another life. The incline steepens as you go, but you take it slowly, unhurried. Each step presses deeper into the soil, sending tiny puffs of dust curling into the air. You breathe them in, along with the wind, which carries the faint scent of stone warmed by the day. There's no bird song here, no chatter of creatures hiding in the grass, just the low hum of the earth itself. It's vibrating in your bones like a lullaby with no melody. Halfway up the rise, you stop and look back. The valley spreads wide behind. You bathed in molten light that pools in every dip and hollow. The stream you left behind glitters like a silver thread, weaving its way through the green fabric of the land. Beyond it, the temple is only a memory now, swallowed by distance and haze. You stand there for a long moment, drinking it all in the way the horizon glows, the way the clouds smear across the sky like brush strokes left by a lazy painter. It's the kind of view that makes you want to bottle silence and save it for later. You turn back toward the mountains and keep moving. The slope finally levels out into a plateau, wide and barren compared to the fields below. Here, the grass thins even more, replaced by patches of gravel that crunch under your boots like brittle bones. The wind has a sharper bite now, curling through the open space with a voice that sounds almost like words low, drawn-out syllables you can't quite catch. You tilt your head, listening, even though you know it's just air moving through cracks and hollows. Still, the illusion lingers, and for a moment you imagine the land is trying to tell you something. Maybe it is. Maybe you're just too human to understand. You wander toward the edge of the plateau, where the ground drops away into a shallow canyon. It's not a dramatic plunge, just a slow, yawning dip carved by centuries of rain and time. The walls are streaked with shades of rust and gray, their surfaces etched with lines that look like forgotten script. You crouch near the edge and run your fingers over one of those lines, tracing its curve, pretending it means something. In a way it does, just not for you. You sit there for a while, legs dangling over the lip of stone, and let the wind wrap around you like a loose cloak. The sky is changing again, deepening into hues of copper and rose as the sun tilts lower. Shadows stretch long and thin across the plateau, slanting like arrows that point to nowhere. You watch them creep inch by inch, slow as glaciers, and wonder, If maybe that's how time moves here, not in seconds or minutes, but in the drift of shadows and the fading of light. Eventually, you stand and turn away from the canyon, brushing dust from your hands. The mountains loom closer now, their ridges catching the last golden flare of day. And something in their stillness feels like a promise, a quiet assurance that even if you never reach them, the journey itself is enough. You smile at that thought, small and private, and start walking again. Your steps soft against the gravel, your breath sinking once more with the wind's eternal sigh. The air tastes different, here thinner. Maybe you're cleaner, carrying a hint of coolness that smells faintly. Of stone and sky. You inhale deeply, letting it fill you. And with each breath you feel lighter, like something inside you is dissolving grain by grain, leaving only the simple fact of being, a body in motion, a shadow stretching toward dusk, a heartbeat beating. In time with the earth, as the light softens and the first star pricks the horizon, you keep moving forward, not toward an end, but into a feeling, a sense of infinite space, folding itself gently around you, like the night preparing its slow embrace. The plateau stretches behind you as you move toward a narrow opening where the land dips into a canyon. It isn't a dramatic drop, nothing like a grand chasm, just a quiet fold in the earth. Like the world let out a sigh and collapsed a little, under its own weight. You approach the edge slowly, boots crunching on loose gravel, and peer down into the hollow. Shadows pool there, soft and velvety, hiding the details of stone and grass. For a moment, you imagine it breathing. An ancient creature curled beneath layers of dust and silence. You step carefully along the edge, following a trail that barely exists, carved by nothing more than the occasional trickle of water and the impatience of time. The walls rise on either side as you descend, their surfaces streaked with shades of iron and clay. Cracks run like veins across the stone, filled with tiny sprigs of moss that clang stubbornly in places where no life should linger. You drag your fingertips along one wall as you walk. The stone feels cool, smooth in some places and jagged in others, whispering its story in textures instead of words. The canyon deepens, but not by much. It's narrow more than it is tall. A corridor of stone where sound behaves strangely. Your footsteps echo in soft, uneven beats, bouncing back like questions you didn't ask. The wind threads through the space in low murmurs. It's curling into the cracks, making the walls hum with a voice so faint it feels imagined. You pause once, close your eyes, and just listen. For a heartbeat, the world feels hollow, like standing. Inside the chest of something vast and sleeping, you move on, your pace slow and deliberate, savoring the way the air cools as shadows gather thicker. The light above fades into slivers, spilling in through gaps like ribbons of gold laid gently across the rock. Dust drifts lazily in those shafts of sunlight, each mote spinning like a tiny planet in its own orbit. You tilt your head back and watch them for too long, hypnotized by their aimless grace. There's no hurry. There never is here. Deeper still, the canyon floor flattens, smoothing into a bed of fine sand mixed with scattered pebbles. Your boots make soft crunching sounds as you cross it, the noise amplified by the narrow walls. At one point you stop and kneel, picking up a pebble worn round by centuries of friction. It's light in your palm, almost weightless, and for some reason, it makes you smile. You place it back exactly where it was, because somehow, even moving a pebble feels too loud for this place. Far ahead, you notice something unexpected. A break in the monotony of stone. It looks like an archway, not carved, but formed naturally, by a boulder that wedged itself between the walls long ago. Time has smoothed its edges, draped it in creeping vines that dangled like threads of an unfinished tapestry. You step closer, passing beneath its shadow, and feel the temperature drop another degree. The smell changes to damp stone, old moss. Something ancient and mineral clinging to the air like the taste of forgotten rain beyond the arch. The canyon opens slightly, enough for the light to spill wider. You blink against it for a moment, then step into a pocket of space where the walls pull back and reveal a small clearing bathed in amber glow. It feels hidden, Secrete a room carved by wind and patience. Not for anyone, just because. At center lies a shallow pool, no bigger than a blanket, its surface glassy and still. You crouch by its edge and stare into the reflection. The sky looks strange down there, broken by ripples that aren't moving. Your own face gazes back, softened by the water's hush, as if even your features have surrendered to the quiet. Dip your fingers into the pool, and the ripples finally bloom, distorting the reflection into liquid ghosts. The water is cold, sharp enough to bite, but not to hurt. You swirl your hands slowly, watching the light fracture into trembling shards that shimmer like silver scales. When you pull your hand free, droplets cling to your skin, slipping down your wrist in glittering lines before vanishing into the dust. You dry them on your trousers absently and lean back on your heels, letting your eyes wander over the clearing one more time. The sun has dropped lower now, and its light filters through the canyon in slanted beams, painting the walls in hues of copper and rose. Shadows stretch long across the sand, reaching toward the pool as if they want to claim it before night arrives. You sit for a while on a flat rock near the edge, elbows resting on your knees, and just breathe. The silence here feels heavier, layered like the stone itself, and it presses into you in the gentlest way, filling the spaces where your thoughts used to be. When you finally stand, the air feels cooler still. You glance up at the narrow strip of sky above, now deepening into indigo, with the first faint pinpricks of starlight flickering at its edges. You know you can't stay in this clearing forever, not because anything demands your movement, but because the horizon still whispers, and the mountains haven't stopped waiting. So you take one last look at the still pool, one last breath of air that tastes of old rain and stone, and you turn back toward the trail that winds deeper through the canyon. The walls close around you again, their rough faces glowing faintly. In the dying light, your steps echo softer now, slower, as if you're reluctant to leave this hollow where the world felt almost small enough to hold in your hands. Ahead, the path bends, curving toward a place you can't yet see, and the whisper of wind rises once more, carrying the promise of what waits beyond the bend. More stone, more sky, more silence, stretching into forever. And you walk on, not to escape, not to arrive, but because here, in this endless hush, movement feels like breathing, and you're not done breathing yet. The canyon narrows again as you follow the winding path, its walls closing in like the pages of a book you can't quite finish. The air is cooler here, touched by dampness that clings to the skin in soft whispers. Every sound seems magnified. Scrape of gravel under your boots, the faint rustle of your clothes when you shift, the quiet hum of wind threading through cracks in the stone. You move slowly, because there's no reason not to. Every step feels like an invitation to linger a little longer in this forgotten corridor of the world. The light above has thinned to a pale ribbon, casting long fingers of shadow down the canyon walls. They stretch and twist as the sun sinks. Lower, painting the stone in muted shades of rose and gray. You reach out and run your hand along one of the walls, letting your fingertips read its story. The grooves worn deep by rain, the faint ridges where minerals gathered like secrets over centuries. It feels solid and patient in a way you've never been. A reminder that the world was here long before you and will keep breathing long after you stop. The path curves, and suddenly the canyon opens into another hidden space, a clearing where the ground flattens into a bed of sand soft enough to muffle your steps. At its center stands something unexpected, an ancient shrine, half collapsed, leaning like a tired traveler who sat down and never stood again. Its stones are draped in moss and vines, their one-sharp carvings blurred into whispers of shapes you can barely make out. You pause at the edge of the clearing, struck by how the ruin seems both abandoned and alive, as if it's been waiting for you, not impatiently, just quietly, the way old things wait when time no longer matters. You approach slowly, your boots sinking slightly into the sand with each step. The shrine looms taller than you expected, even in its ruin. You tilt your head back to trace the jagged lines where its roof has fallen away, leaving only fragments that point like broken fingers toward the sky. Through those gaps, you glimpse the first real stars of the evening, cold, bright pinpricks, scattered across a canvas still bruised with the last colors of sunset. They look sharp enough to cut, but distant enough to feel like a dream. You circle the shrine, fingers grazing the damp stone as you go. Here and there, carvings still cling to life, curves and spirals worn down by centuries of wind and rain. You can't tell what they meant, or if they meant anything at all, but you trace them anyway. Like following a map you know won't lead anywhere. At the base of one wall, you find a hollow filled with moss so thick it looks like velvet. You crouch and press your fingertips into it, feeling the cool sponge of life in a place that seems made entirely of endings. You sit there for a while, your back against the shrine, knees drawn loosely to your chest. The silence here is heavier than before, not oppressive, just layered, like the air is thick with old prayers that never finished leaving someone's lips. You close your eyes and let it settle around you, sinking into your skin, your breath slowing until it feels like the entire world is breathing with you. Somewhere high above, a night bird calls a single note, sharp and lonely, then nothing. The sound hangs in the air for a moment before dissolving into quiet again. When you open your eyes, the sky has deepened into indigo, and the stars are multiplying like sparks scattered across velvet. They shimmer faintly in the gaps above the shrine, reflected in your gaze like distant lanterns guiding no one. You tilt your head back and watch them for a long time until your neck aches and your thoughts blur into shapes as shifting and soft as clouds. If you tried to name this feeling, you'd fail. It's not peace, not exactly. It's more like the weight of everything slipping away, leaving only the rhythm of your pulse and the hum of the earth beneath your bones. Eventually, you rise and brush the sand from your clothes. Your fingers linger on the shrine's stone for one last moment, as if to thank it for its quiet company. Then you turn toward the path that leads out of the clearing. The canyon continues beyond, its walls etched with shadows that seem deeper. Now, almost alive. You follow them, your steps slow, deliberate. Like each one is a promise not to disturb the fragile thread of stillness that binds this place together. The ground slopes upward as you walk, carrying you gradually toward an opening, where the walls begin to loosen their grip on the sky. The wind grows stronger, curling through the cracks with a low hum that feels almost like a song-long. Drawn-out notes played on an instrument older than language. You close your eyes for a few steps, letting that sound wrap around you, until it feels less like wind and more like the earth whispering something it can't put into words. When you step out of the canyon at last, the world yawns wide again. The mountains loom closer now, their ridges catching the last glow of sunset, smoldering like embers against the deepening blue. The air tastes colder, sharper, tinged with the faint metallic scent of stone, cooling under nightfall. You pause. There at the threshold, feeling the vastness settle over you like a cloak, and you breathe it in slowly, as if trying to hold a piece of it inside you. Ahead, land spreads into golden fields kissed by the last light of day, their tips catching fire where the sun lingers on the edge of the world. And above it all, the sky unfurls like a dark ocean scattered with stars calm, infinite and waiting. You take one step forward, then another, your shadow stretching long behind you as the earth tips gently into night. The ground feels softer under your boots now as you leave the canyon behind. Sand and gravel give way to grass again, but this isn't the bright green of morning fields. These blades are washed in gold, each one glowing faintly in the light of a sun sliding lower and lower toward the edge of the world. You take a moment to just stand there, watching the way the light pours across the land. A molten river spreading over every hill and hollow. It's the kind of glow that feels almost too tender for words, like the earth is whispering goodbye to the day in a language only the wind understands. You start walking again, slow and unhurried, your steps sinking slightly into the softness of the ground. The air carries a warmth that lingers from the sun, mixed with the first cool breath of evening. It brushes your skin like silk, light and fleeting, tugging gently at your clothes, curling through your hair in lazy spirals. There's a hum to it now, a sound so faint you can barely hear it. But you feel it more than anything, a vibration running through the grass, the soil, the soles of your feet. It feels alive, It's not loud, not insistent, just alive. The fields ahead stretch endless, unbroken, except for the occasional scatter of stones that catch the last light and flash like buried treasure. Shadows sprawl long and lean across the ground, their edges soft as they bleed into the gold. You glance at your own shadow, stretched impossibly thin, reaching so far it feels like it could touch the horizon if it wanted to. You lift your arm, just to watch it move, and for a moment, it looks like a stranger waving back. As you walk deeper into the fields, the light shifts again. The sun is dipped lower now, kissing the land with its final warmth before surrendering to the night. Everything is drenched in amber and honey, the colors deep and heavy, pooling like liquid gold in every hollow. You tilt your head back, and the sky takes your breath a little, not because it's dramatic, but because it's so vast, so open, bleeding from pale blue into fire-streaked orange, then into the tender bruises of violet and rose. The clouds catch those colors like brushstrokes, their edges glowing as if someone lit them from within. You stop walking and just watch. Really watch. The way the clouds slide so slowly, it feels like time forgot itself. The way the light clings stubbornly to the horizon, even as the dark begins to seep in from the edges. It's not a sunset you'd call spectacular, not the kind that makes people scramble for their cameras. But it's the kind that sinks into you quietly, like a secret, and stays there long after you've stopped thinking about it. You lower yourself into the grass without even deciding to, folding your legs beneath you, feeling the coolness seep into your skin. The blades brush your hands as you lean back, supporting your weight on your palms, and you let your gaze drift over the sea of gold rippling in the wind. The sound of it is softer now, like whispers fading at the edge of hearing. You breathe in slow, tasting the air that's turning crisp, carrying the faint sweetness of earth cooling under the sky. For a while, do nothing but sit there, watching the day bleed into night. The sun slips lower and lower until it's nothing but a burning line smudged across the rim of the world. And then even that begins to dissolve, sinking behind the mountains that loom closer now, their slopes bruised with shadow. The wind stirs, again stronger this time, sweeping through the grass in long, shivering waves. It brushes your cheek, tugs lightly at your sleeve, like a hand urging you onward. But you stay where you are a little longer, because this moment feels like something worth holding, even if only for a breath more. When the last ember of sunlight finally dies, the colors soften into hues of lavender and ash, and the first stars prick the dark above. You watch them appear one by one, tentative at first, like shy voices joining a song, and then more boldly, until the sky begins to glitter like a handful of glass scattered across black velvet. You tilt your head back and let your eyes blur, watching the constellations weave themselves into patterns you can't quite name. It feels infinite and intimate all at once, like standing at the edge of something you'll never fully understand. You lie back slowly, the grass cool and damp against your spine, and let the earth hold you. Above, the sky yawns wide, swallowing the last traces of day, and for a moment you feel so small it almost hurts. But then the hurt melts into something else, quiet, swelling peace that fills your chest until you can't tell where you end and the night begins. You close your eyes for a breath, then open them again just to make sure it's real. It's more than real, it's everything. When you finally sit up, the mountains are darker now, sharp against the horizon, their shapes etched in silver by the rising moon. You stand slowly, brushing the grass from your clothes, and take one last look at the field glowing faintly in the starlight. Then you turn toward that silver light pooling on the slopes ahead and start walking again. Your steps soft, steady, the wind following you like a faithful shadow, because the night is opening now. Wide and endless, and it feels like it's been waiting just for you. The grass crunches softer underfoot now, its golden glow giving way to muted shades of silver as the moon climbs slowly into the sky. You move across the open land with no real sense of distance. Each step feels both endless and immediate, like time itself is stretching and folding in on you. The air has shifted, losing the warmth of day and replacing it with a cool, almost fragile stillness that clings to your skin like dew. It smells different too, crisp and clean, with a faint mineral temps, like stone cooling after hours of hoarding. Sunlight ahead, the land begins to rise again, subtle at first, then more deliberate, as though the earth is exhaling and lifting you toward the stars. Your boots scuff softly against the ground, stirring tiny clouds of dust that glitter in the moonlight like crushed glass. The sound is swallowed almost instantly by the immensity of quiet surrounding you. It's the kind of silence that doesn't just exist, it presses gently against your ears, settling into the space where thought usually lives, till all that's left is the rhythm of your steps and the slow tide of your breath as you climb. The wind grows bolder, curling around your body in long, languid sweeps, tugging at your clothes, combing its cold fingers through your hair. It carries with it the scent of the high places, thin, sharp, edged with something metallic that makes you think of ancient stone and unbroken skies. You close your eyes for a few steps, letting it wrap around you like a voice with no words, whispering truths you'll never understand but believe anyway. When you open your eyes again, the view has changed. Behind you, the valley glimmers faintly under a wash of moonlight. The streams silvered into threads, the fields glowing like pale gold, softened into ash. The ruins you left behind are gone now, swallowed by distance and shadow, as though they never existed outside the soft blur of memory. Ahead, the plateau unfurls like an invitation, leading you higher and higher toward a ridge where the horizon seems to dissolve into sky. You reach the edge at last and pause, catching your breath not because you're tired, but because the view steals it from you in a way that feels almost deliberate. From here, the land stretches forever. Rolling hills and jagged lines of stone melting into the dark until they vanish completely. Above, the sky is a vast ocean of indigo, flecked with stars so bright they look like shards of ice scattered by a careless hand. The moon hangs low and full, its light soft, yet relentless, painting the rocks in shades of silver and shadow. It feels less like a lantern and more like an icon, watchful, impossibly old. You sink slowly to the ground near the ridge, your body folding into the grass as if the earth had been waiting to cradle you all along. The blades are cold now, slick with the first kiss of dew, and they cling to your palms when you press your hands against them. You lean back until your shoulders touch the ground and let your gaze drown in the sky. For a moment, your breath catches not because of the stars themselves, but because of the silence they seem to hold. Silence so deep it feels like the absence of everything, and the presence of something too vast to name. Your thoughts scatter like leaves in wind, tumbling into the dark until you can't tell where they end. You find shapes among the constellations, an archer drawing his bow, a beast mid-lep, a bird frozen with its wings unfurled. They look as if they've been waiting for millennia just for you to notice them, and you almost laugh at the arrogance of that thought. Still it lingers, sweet and strange, like a secret shared by something enormous and patient. The wind hums low against the rocks, and you let it fill your ears, your lungs, the hollow spaces in your chest. You feel it tugging at your clothes, threading through your fingers, brushing your lips as if asking for a promise you don't know how to give. You close your eyes for a while, listening to its music, long, drawn-out notes played on an instrument, carved from emptiness and time. When you open them again, the world feels different, not louder, not busier, just deeper, as if every shadow has learned to breathe, and every star has begun to pulse with a slow, secret heartbeat. You sit up slowly, stretching your legs out in front of you, and glance toward the mountains looming even closer now. Their slopes veiled in mist that glows faintly under the moon, they look like sleeping giants, curled against the horizon, there, spines etched in silver where the light kisses them. You know you'll walk there soon, not to conquer, not to claim, but simply because that's what you do now. You walk, you breathe, you listen, you stand, brushing cold grass from your clothes, and take a deep breath that tastes like stone and sky. The wind curls around you again, nudging you forward, and you follow without question, your shadow stretching long across the plateau like a dark tether tying you to the earth. Above, the stars burn brighter, spilling their cold fire across the night. When you walk beneath them like someone moving through a dream too fragile to touch. Because here, in this hush, there are no goals, no clocks, no voices but the wind. There's only the soft rhythm of your steps, the distant promise of mountains, and the infinite quiet pressing close, wrapping you in a silence that feels almost holy, and so you keep moving not toward an end but deeper into the stillness, letting it swallow you inch by inch until you can't tell where you stop and the night begins. The wind greets you like an old friend as you step onto the high plateau, brushing against your cheeks with a chill that feels sharper than before. Night has fully arrived now, draping the world in velvet darkness, pierced only by the pale gleam of the moon and the silver spill of stars overhead. They look impossibly bright against the ink-black sky, glittering like scattered shards of glass, their cold fire pulsing faintly as though in time with the Earth's hidden heartbeat. You tilt your head back and let your eyes drink it all in, the sheer immensity of it making your chest tighten in a way that isn't fear but something very close to awe. Your steps are slower now, more deliberate, as if you've forgotten what hurry even means. The ground here is uneven, a patchwork of weathered stone and tufts of brittle grass clinging stubbornly to life. When you crouch and touch the earth, it feels cold, its surface rough with cracks and grooves carved by centuries of wind. One of those grooves with your fingertips, following its meandering path until it vanishes into shadow. For a fleeting second, you imagine it as a map, a secret road etched by time, leading not to a destination but deeper into silence itself. You rise and keep walking, your boots crunching softly against gravel that shifts underfoot. The sound echoes faintly in the stillness, a brittle whisper that seems to unravel as soon as it's born. The air carries a metallic edge now, the scent of stone cooling under the breath of night, mixed with something faintly sweet you can't quite name. Maybe it's the grass, or maybe it's just the way darkness smells when it presses against your skin like this cool. Endless, tender in its enormity. Ahead, the land begins to rise again, lifting you toward a ridge silhouetted against the night sky. You climb slowly, the muscles in your legs pulling like strings drawn taut, though the effort feels almost welcome, a reminder that you're here. A body anchored in the vastness, moving forward through a world that feels eternal. The wind grows stronger as you ascend, curling around your arms, tangling its fingers in your hair, humming low in your ears like a secret tune played on invisible strings. When you crest the ridge, the world spills open once more and the sight steals your breath for the 100th time tonight. Below lies an expanse of shadow, a valley drowned in darkness and moonlight, its contours softened into something that looks more imagined than real. The grass ripples faintly in the breeze, glowing silver where the light grazes its tips, and the mountains beyond loom higher now, their slopes veiled in mist that shimmers faintly under the lunar glow. They look like dream creatures sleeping at the edge of the world, their backs rising and falling with breaths too slow for human reckoning. You lower yourself onto a flat slab of stone near the ridge, the chill of it seeping into your palms, anchoring you to the moment. You lean back, resting on your hands, and let your gaze wander up, past the jagged lines of the mountains, past the thin mist, curling like smoke, until it disappears into the sea of stars above. There are more of them now, countless spilling across the sky in rivers of light that seem to flow forever. You follow their paths with your eyes until you lose track, till they blur into constellations that mean nothing and everything all at once. You think about how far they are, distances so vast the mind bends trying to imagine them, and yet here they are, burning their cold fires just for you or for no one, which somehow feels even better. The wind sighs low against the stone, carrying with it the hollow song of the high places, a tune without rhythm, without end. A sound that feels less like air moving and more like the voice of the world dreaming in its sleep. You close your eyes and let it fill you, let it curl into your lungs, your bones, until it becomes a part of you, humming in time with your pulse. For a moment, you feel almost weightless, as if the earth beneath you could dissolve and you'd keep floating, carried by nothing but breath and starlight. When you open your eyes again, the sky has deepened into a darker shade of blue, almost black, and the moon hangs higher now, luminous and pale, casting a path of silver across the plateau. You follow that glow with your eyes, tracing it toward the mountains ahead, where the slopes shimmer faintly in its light. They look close enough to touch now, though you know better. Distance is a liar in a place like this, stretching and folding itself like silk in the dark. Still, you find yourself smiling, because it doesn't matter if you reach them tonight or ever. It's the walking itself is the point. The slowness, the quiet, the way the world unravels in front of you like a ribbon with no end. You lie back fully. Then, the stone hard against your spine, the sky pouring its cold fire into your eyes, and you breathe. Deep and slow, as if you could inhale the night and keep it inside you forever. And for a long while, minutes, hours, a lifetime, you do nothing but exist like that. A shadow stretched against the earth, a flicker of breath in the stillness. A single heartbeat stitched into the fabric of a world too vast to notice and too kind to care. Eventually, you sit up again, brushing dust from your palms, and stand. The wind nudges at your back, gentle but insistent, and you follow, your steps soft, your shadow long, your mind as wide and empty as the sky above. The mountains are waiting still, and so is the silence. And so you keep walking, deeper into both. The ridge falls away behind you as you walk, its dark silhouette swallowed by the night. Ahead, the land slopes downward, before rising again in gentle folds. The ground silvered under moonlight, every blade of grass tipped with frost-like brilliance. The air feels thinner here, sharper, as if it has been strained of everything unnecessary and left only with purity, cold, clean, infinite. Each breath fills your lungs like a slow tide, carrying with it a quiet you can almost taste. The mountains loom closer now, their outlines etched in glowing white where the moon brushes their spines. They look impossibly high from here, though not in a way that intimidates you. They don't demand, simply exist, massive and patient, carved by time into shapes too ancient for ambition. You feel their presence like a low hum, vibrating. In the bones of the earth, a sound you can't hear, but somehow know is there. It calls to you not with urgency, not with promises, but with the calm insistence of something that has always been and will always be. You keep moving, the ground crunching softly under your boots, the sound quickly devoured by the immensity of silence that hangs between the sky and the earth. The stars burn brighter now, crowding the heavens like distant fires scattered across black glass. You tilt your head back and let your eyes drink them in until they blur into shimmering rivers of light, their reflections pooling in your pupils until it feels like you're carrying whole constellations inside you. For a moment, the thought makes you dizzy, not in fear, but in wonder, like standing too close to the edge of a dream and feeling it tug at you. The wind threads around you again, colder now, whispering along the edges of your clothes, lifting stray strands of hair to dance in the silver glow. It smells of stone and shadow, of the places where light never lingers. And its voice feels older than language, an endless sigh that says everything and nothing all at once. You listen without trying to understand. You've stopped wanting answers somewhere along this walk, and it feels good. It's like unclenching a fist you didn't know you'd been holding. After a while, the ground rises beneath your feet, carrying you to another plateau. You step onto it and pause, not from weariness, but because the view demands stillness. Below lies a sea of darkness. The fields you crossed, now transformed into a quiet ocean of silver ripples under the moon. The stream you touched earlier gleams. Faintly in the distance, a single thread of light stitching the land to the horizon. And beyond it all, the mountains crouch at the edge of the world, their peaks ghosted with mist that glows like pale fire where it catches the starlight. You lower yourself to the ground without thinking, sitting cross-legged on a patch of grass that bends softly under your weight. The earth is cold, but it feels good against your skin, solid, real. Something to anchor you as the sky stretches wider and wider above. You lean back on your hands and stare upward, letting the constellations spin in slow, eternal arcs. Of them looks like an arrow tonight, sharp and bright, pointing toward a place you'll never reach. Another looks like a spiral, curling inward like a question with no answer. You trace them silently the way a child might trace patterns in frost. And for a heartbeat, you feel the same smallness, the same wonder. The night deepens around you, the darkness pooling thicker in every hollow, the stars sharpening their glow. As if in defiance, the moon hangs higher now, its light spilling across the land in sheets of silver that ripple and shift when the wind moves the grass. You listen to the hush of it, all the wind, the faint whisper of blades brushing together, the low murmur of your own breath, and realize there's a rhythm to it, a pulse as steady as the tide. It makes you wonder if the world is singing. You're just too slow to catch the melody. You lie back slowly, feeling the chill seep into your spine, and fold your arms across your chest. The grass cradles your body in its soft, uneven grip, and the earth beneath hums faintly, as if holding secrets you'll never know. Above, the stars burn on, their cold fire pulsing in the black, and for the first time, you think you understand why people make wishes on them. Not because they can grant anything, but because looking at something so far away makes your own life feel weightless enough to let go. Your eyelids grow heavy. But you fight it not because you're afraid of sleep, but because this feels too precious to surrender. The night wraps itself tighter around you, a cloak of shadow lined with starlight, and you breathe it in, slow and deep, until it fills every hollow space inside you. You close your eyes for a moment anyway, just to feel the darkness on your skin, and when you open them again, nothing has changed and everything has changed. The world feels softer now, blurred at the edges as if it's beginning to dream, and you're being invited in. You sit up after what feels like both an instant and an eternity, brushing the damp from your clothes. The wind nudges at your back again, gentle but insistent, and you understand there's still farther to go. Rise, stretch until your joints pop like distant echoes, and start walking once more, your shadow long and wavering under the moon's pale eye. Ahead, the mountains wait, cloaked in silver and silence, and you follow their quiet call without haste, without thought, your steps stitching themselves into the endless fabric of night. Because here, in this hush, movement isn't about reaching an end. It's about sinking deeper into stillness, step by step, breath by breath, until the horizon itself feels like an old friend waiting with open arms. The night folds itself around you as you walk, thick and soft like a cloak stitched from shadows. The moon has climbed to its highest throne now, casting a pale silver over everything, painting the land in ghostlight. Every blade of grass, a ripple of stone gleams faintly, as if dipped in frost, and your shadow stretches long and fragile across the earth, swaying with each unhurried step you take. It feels less like walking and more like floating, drifting forward through a dream so quiet it hums. The mountains are close now. Close enough that their dark spines cut sharp against the glittering sky, their slopes furrowed and ridged like the brows of old gods. They rise in solemn majesty, not looming, not threatening, but waiting, the way mountains have always waited. You can feel their stillness even before you touch their roots, a vast and patient calm that seeps out into the air and slides beneath your skin. It's the kind of silence that feels alive, pulsing with a rhythm too slow for you to name. Your steps carry you onto a gentle incline where the grass thins two stubbled tufts. The ground grows hard beneath your boots, its surface veined with cracks that glint faintly in the moonlight. The wind curls tighter here, cooler, tasting faintly of stone and shadow, threading through the hollows with a voice like low music. You pause for a breath, closing your eyes, and let it wash over you, a soundless lullaby that moves through your bones and leaves them humming. When you open your eyes, the world has shifted again. Behind you, the plateau spreads like a dark ocean, silver ripples stretching into forever. The stream you left hours ago gleams like a thread of starlight stitched into the fabric of the land. And the ruins, those ancient stones you touched. At the starter, nothing but a memory now, dissolved into the haze of distance. Ahead, the mountains rise higher, their peaks licked by moonlight, their ridges glowing faintly like the edges of a blade softened by time. You reach the base of the first slope and begin to climb, not quickly, not as if the summit matters, but in the same way you've done everything tonight, slow, deliberate, stitched to the rhythm of breath and earth. The ground tilts under your weight, sending small pebbles skittering down into the dark. Each one bounces away in brittle echoes, a sound that feels almost shocking in this hush, like breaking glass in an empty hall. You smile faintly at that thought, because even here, Ivan, in this infinite stillness, the world reminds you it knows how to answer when you move. Halfway up, you stop and turn just to look. The horizon is gone now, swallowed by the folds of land, but the sky stretches wider than ever. An ocean of black fire flecked with stars so bright they almost hurt. They hang there like frozen sparks, each one older than the world beneath your feet, and for a moment you feel something inside you tilt, dizzy and small in the best way possible. You sit down where you are, folding your legs beneath you, and lean back on your hands, letting the chill of the stone seep into your skin as you tilt your head skyward. You breathe. That's all. Just breathe. In and out, until the rhythm of your lungs feels like the rhythm of the wind, of the grass, of the earth itself spinning in its endless dark. The mountains hum low around you, not in sound, but in presence, and the stars blaze cold and patient above, and for a long time, you do nothing but exist like this, a shadow among shadows, a flicker of warmth stitched into the fabric of infinity. Eventually, though, time feels like a thing that has stopped mattering. You rise again. The slope steepens, but you don't notice the effort anymore. You climb as though the wind carries you, as though gravity has loosened its grip out of kindness. At the crest, you find a wide ledge, flat and smooth, as if carved for this exact purpose, and you know, without knowing why, that this is where the walk ends. Or maybe where it begins again in another way. You sink to the ground slowly, lying back until your spine kisses stone and your arms sprawl wide. The rock is cold and solid beneath you, the night vast and liquid above, and you let them both hold you without asking for more. Your breath slows, matching the beat of something older, something endless. You close your eyes for a moment, and when you open them, stars are still there, sharp and clear, an eternal land. The mountains crouch like sleeping beasts at the edge of the world, and the wind hums its wordless hymn, and everything feels both infinite and impossibly near. You think fleetingly about how far you've come, the ruins, the fields, the stream, the hollow carved by stone, the shrine swallowed by moss, the golden glow of evening, the hush of twilight blooming into night. All of it feels like pieces of a story you'll never tell, because stories need endings. And this silence, this slow drift through an endless sky, was never about endings. It was about surrender, about loosening your grip on the clock and letting the world cradle you in its slow, patient hands. The mountains breathe their stillness into you. The stars burn their cold fire above you, and you lie there, wrapped in both, until even thought dissolves, and only being remains soft and quiet and infinite. And so, as you lie on that high ledge, the night presses closer, not in a way that confines, but in a way that comforts, like a blanket stitched from silver and shadow. The wind hums its eternal lullaby, brushing against your skin with the gentlest of hands, while the stars above keep their silent vigil, burning for no one and everyone all at once. The mountains stand behind you like old guardians, their presence as steady as breath, and for the first time in what feels like centuries, your own breath matches theirs, slow, deep, without urgency or thought. You let your eyes slip shut, not out of weariness, but because there's nothing left to see that isn't already folded into the rhythm of this moment. Darkness softens around the edges, warm and cool at the same time, and your body feels as though it's dissolving grain by grain into the stone, the air, the infinite hush. There's no past here, no future, only this, the gentle weight of your heartbeat, the whisper of wind combing the grass somewhere far below, the pulse of stars flickering in a sky too vast for language. And maybe, just maybe, you think this was the point all along. Not to conquer, not to reach, not to find anything but this, the quiet between footsteps. The space where time loosens its grip, the deep, endless breath of a world that has always known how to wait. Sleep drifts toward you now as slow and certain. As moonlight pooling across the stone, you let it come, without fight, without fear, sinking deeper into its tide until the mountains blur. The stars blur, and everything becomes soft, silver, infinite, sweet dreams.